If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My chair just released, and I literally almost flew back against the studio wall. That would have been so awesome. If
that would have been the best way to
picture.
start the show, is if you fell backwards just as I clicked, and the microphone.
Hey, happy Wednesday night.
Happy Wednesday evening, June 19th, 2013. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited because the Bruins are in the playoff. It's 5-5 going into overtime again against the Chicago Blackhawks, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's weird. I'm really excited because this is our first official show as a member of the 405.
Well, I didn't want to brag or anything, but yeah.
By the way, for those of you who don't know us, I am Sackhead Clint.
Sackhead Sean. Sitting behind us in a corner in a dark room covered with spiders is Sackhead Sacco. He does the sound.
And he doesn't really count, so you can ignore anything he says.
He can't count is what you meant to say.
That's what I meant to say.
He gets up to 5.
And then
he's in trouble because the other hand's a flipper. And he can't get past his 6. We're just kidding.
So no, we're not.
I'm gonna have a microphone of my own.
There's a reason you don't.
There's a reason we wanted to buy a third mic and we said no.
Sean's the one with the Boston accent.
I'll be the one that sounds really funny.
I'm the good-looking one. So
as you can tell by listening to us.
Radio. Hey, I want to open up with a quote that I found, and I actually think it's germane to the show.
Jackson? Tito. Jackson 5. Sorry,
Close.
I was just...
No,
okay.
You're just firing off there. It says, however peaceably your colonies have submitted to your government, shown their affection to your interest, and patiently borne their grievances, you are to suppose them always inclined to revolt, and treat them accordingly. Quarter troops among them, who by their insolence may provoke the rising of mobs, and by their bullets and bayonets suppress them. By this means, like the husband who uses his wife ill from suspicion, you may in time convert your suspicions to realities. Ben Franklin wrote those words in 1773, and I think our government should maybe read some of those.
Well, listen,
now.
You know that we don't, not we.
Right.
Our government has a tendency not to pay attention to history because what are the odds of it ever repeating itself?
Well, not only that, but
again.
Why? I mean, how can you pay attention to words like that and advance a Marxist socialist utopian agenda? I mean, really.
See, you know, now you're just basing your argument off facts and things that you've seen. And you need to stop that because you'll never, ever have an argument with a Democrat and win if you do that. You can't steep your argument in constant fact and reality.
Look, I'm trying to get better from arguing from an emotional standpoint only.
Pure emotion. If it's not pure emotion, there's no point of having
pure emotion or nonsense. Either one. Look, I'm not a very good progressive. I tried it on. It didn't really fit right. You know, my hips are a little big. But
so we have so much to talk to tonight.
To talk to?
About.
Okay.
To talk towards, I guess, would have been a better way of putting it.
No, that'd still be pretty lame.
All right, well, I'll win there. What? I just won. Don't like it? Turn it off. Anyhow, we talk about Snowden and the NSA.
Who?
Snowden.
Oh.
We're going to talk about NSA testified this week, FBI director testified this week. Today. That's still this week, technically. Jerk.
Look, don't say everything we're going to talk about because we're going to get off on one tangent and we're not going to get.
These are all the things we'd like to talk about.
Okay.
If you're new to the show, we don't always get to the things we want to talk about because we have a tendency to rant and then people visit us on the phone and we make fun of Sacco for 20 minutes.
The Supreme Court ruling, Arizona.
Big Supreme Court ruling out of Arizona, which is troubling in a way. But we'll cover that. So,
where to start tonight? Look, in pre-production, I think we changed our mind on where we're going to start.
About 15 times.
About I was going to say 14, but I think I forgot the one.
There was the one where you were out of the room and I changed it again.
Right. And then I changed it once, but I told you about it, so I think that still counts.
Why don't we start with Syria?
Okay. Now, that's an interesting point, because let me ask you a question about Syria.
Okay.
The Syrian rebels, are any of them aligned with Al-Qaeda?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know the answer to this.
Yeah. It's NURSA Front is what it's called. And
okay, so like the Nurses Union is what you're saying?
When I first read it, I thought it was the MRSA Front, and I was like, oh, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's gross. They're resistant to staff.
They have openly said that they are affiliated with Al-Qaeda.
Okay, now is Al-Qaeda a enemy of the United States?
Last time I checked.
Okay, so Al-Qaeda is an enemy of the United States, and our government...
In my defense, I did not look today. They may have been taken off the list recently.
Okay. So,
I mean, they're pretty much dead as far as this administration's concerned.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, right? There's no threats anymore, so then why do they need to listen to our phone calls? Right. That's a whole other argument.
Well, listen, let's get to that in next hour.
So they are... Al-Qaeda is an enemy of the
And we apologize for the disruption. There was apparently a...
Look, the government just shut us down because they're monitoring all this. It's not a big deal.
Anyone else feel the microwave blast? That was so bizarre.
How does that happen? That's happened a couple times now.
Thank God we're going to be moving to the new studio where they can't find us.
Right, in the lair.
Sasha, you've done that super double encryption technology where they won't be able to... It transfers us through a nunnery somewhere in the Midwest, right? I don't understand that.
It's a good thing we bought that old silo, so they'll never find us down there.
I'm just psyched I can land at the studio in an airplane. Anyhow, so we're talking about Syria, and you brought up a good point.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
We're talking about Syria and how some of the rebels, the group you mentioned, MRSA or Nurses Association, or I don't know, Nurse
Which is
Shark,
weird, but
whatever it is, they have ties.
Unions.
They have ties to Al-Qaeda, who's an enemy of the United States.
Right.
And here there's talk in the United States government about giving aid to these rebel groups to fight against the Assad regime. And Article 3, Section 3 of the United States Constitution came to mind.
Oh, there you go again.
And look, no, hear me out. I'm posing a question.
Okay.
Posing a question.
You're not at all suggesting. You're posing a question.
Well, I'm posing a question.
Okay.
And we're talking letter of the law, maybe spirit of the law, but treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Now, giving the rebels aid and comfort, which is really what we're talking about, right? When we're talking about sending people over to train them.
It really wouldn't matter, would it?
It doesn't say that it's treason only if you give them aid and comfort and they're targeting the United States, because they're already an enemy of the United States. It's assumed that they will be targeting the United States, I would think. They're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, correct?
I would assume so, wouldn't you?
Yet giving them aid and comfort, does that not seem on its face like it would be a violation of Article 3, Section 3 and be treason by definition? I'm posing that question. I'm throwing that out there. And so if that's the case, and I think the Justice Department needs to rule on that. Wait, never mind.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Oh, okay. So we're good then.
As long as the president says we should, then we're fine.
Then we're good.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Thoughts?
Listen, I'd have to go in. The problem is they won't release what kind of aid.
It doesn't matter.
But they're not releasing which specific group, because as
Obama said today, they're not going to get into specifics about how we're aiding.
As we know, when it comes down to aid, and we've had this in the past, which group we're technically aiding, because there's 15 rebel groups over there right now.
Okay.
Or more. I was throwing a number out there. There's more than one. I don't know, and I know there's a couple, I think there was a representative who said, well, we know who we're giving it to and who we're not giving it to.
Of course you do.
Right, because we were good at that in Iraq and Afghanistan.
We were awesome at it, and
it cost no lives there. Now,
and if they're fighting on the same side, I'm sure that none of the aid would benefit.
No, and it certainly would never, and I mean absolutely never, come back to bite us in the butt. So
look, I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I would say yes. I am sure there's going to be some bizarre provision that the Justice Department's going to find and say, well, in case law, blah, 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 versus blah, 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 and blah, 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 this happened. The simple fact of the matter is, as you read Section 3, Article 3, I believe it was, of the U.S. Constitution, it's very specific. You are not, it is illegal to do that. Now,
no, it says, hang on, I'm reading, let me make sure I'm reading. Yeah, treason. No, it says, treason against the United States.
And that's with an EA, it's not two E's.
Right, and it's not treason.
Not the son of a tree.
Right. It didn't but pollinate somewhere else. And it says shall consist only in levying war or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort.
Well, and it's strange because I'm sure this argument could have been made in Iraq. I'm sure the argument could have been made in Afghanistan. We would once again have to be allowed to see what the government doesn't do a lot, even though he's very transparent. This president says he is, anyhow. By the way, I'm 6'3" and handsome. If I keep saying that, it might come true eventually.
Well, if you're very transparent. I'll look on the radio. You're so much cooler online. I'm just.
That's a good song. But it's one of those things where, we'd have to see exactly where these groups are going. If they can prove where which aid is going to which group,
right.
And if they can see. I'm sure they'll be able to say, look, this group, we have zero information that they are at all affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Well, they're part of the rebels. Wait, I'm not done. We're part of they're part of the Syrian rebellion as a whole. Yes, but this group is specifically blah, 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 and fighting in...
But they're part of the rebel alliance.
Right. Absolutely. And Luke and his little band of rebels must be dealt with appropriately. So
Darth Vader would not be pleased.
He would not be happy at all. I'm absolutely sure that one of the generals would be relieved of his duty.
Assad Vader would...
He's going to give somebody a throat hug. Really tight throat hug. But let's face it. You could pick one group and say, hey, these guys are not Al-Qaeda affiliates. They're doing it for the right reason. And listen, a couple hundred years ago in this country, it wasn't that different. With the exception of we weren't at war with ourselves. That would be kind of hard. But we weren't an Islamic extremist organization that's declared war on this nation when we received aid from France during the Revolution and other times. I'm not saying that our Constitution applies to France back during the Revolutionary War, but I'm just trying to use that as a metaphor that we got aid during our Revolution.
Uh-huh.
But
from Spain also.
I wasn't trying to shorten anyone.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, Spain.
There you go.
But this is different. We have a constitution in place that's strictly states what treason is, what you can and can't do. We have a history of giving aid to these rebel extremist groups or these rebellion groups who say, oh, no, we're clean, we're innocent, and then all of a sudden, 5 months later, you look back at them and they're like, oh, yeah, we switched sides because they paid more. And that happened a lot. There was a great book written about Afghanistan about 10 years ago, and it was a guy before we were even there riding with the Taliban in Afghanistan trying to eradicate the Taliban, the country of Afghanistan, going after the Taliban. And there was a news reporter who's riding with an Afghan army guy, and they see this guy. And he's like, oh, no, he's friendly to us, blah, 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 blah. He's helping us out a bunch of times, just civilian. And he's like, oh, okay. So a couple weeks go by, and the guy that he was with, they're riding down the road again. And there's a Taliban truck coming. The Afghan army starts to attack them, and the guy gets over, whoa, Bill, it's me. It's the same guy that they saw 2 weeks earlier. And they're like, what are you doing? You've been working for us. He goes, yeah, but they pay better. So that's just how simple it is to change on the other side. It's money.
Okay, so
can they be trusted is the question I'm asking.
I pose the question, and is your statement, well, hey, if we're not helping the MRSA group, whatever the heck it is, I just like making fun of their name, if we're not helping them, but we're helping another group that's also part of the Rebel Alliance, I just like calling them Rebel Alliance too, then it would not meet that definition, perhaps?
Perhaps, and I'm saying that in a way of that could be their out. I'm not saying it's right. I'm looking at it playing devil's advocate. That's going to be their out. Do I think we should be giving them aid? No, I don't think we should be anywhere near Syria for the most part.
We shouldn't. It's a civil war.
The only reason that I think we should have anything to do with Syria is because this president said a while ago that we were going to do something. If chemical weapons were found, then we're going to.
Well, look, this president.
But he won't nut up. And I'd rather he nut up and do it.
Well, he's a man of his word. So
not because
because
I think we should go to Syria, but I just want to see him once stand by something that he says. You know what I mean? And now they're saying, there's more than just us saying that Assad has used chemical weapons against the civilians over there and the rebels. And that was the red line, and nothing. So yeah, I'd like to see some sort of nutting up by this president, some sort of testicular fortitude, and at least stand by his word. Even if I don't agree with it, stand by it. That's my opinion, but it's not going to happen.
Okay, so hang on. By using your logic, if he says, I don't know, hey, you know what, we're going to ban all guns in the United States, you would rather him nut up and stand by it?
I'd almost rather him try for once.
Okay.
Even if I don't like it, I'd like to see him do something, but he's not going to. That's why I'm not worried about it. He is the most wishy-washy, spineless when it comes to standing up for stuff. Even then, stuff he believes in, he won't stand up for. With the exception of health care. That was the only thing he stood behind, and that was after it was passed. You know what I mean?
And spying on conservative groups.
Well, yeah, but
spying on U.S. citizens.
And when I say stand behind it in those, I mean he was way behind it because he's trying to get as far away from it as possible. But I mean mostly on a lot of international policy, things that we say he says he's going to do.
Like decrease the nuclear arsenal.
1/3 of our nuclear arsenal. He said that, 3 years ago?
No, he said that today, right?
As well as 3 years ago. He said that time and again, and I'm not for it. As far as I'm concerned, we need to maintain as much defense as we possibly can. However, if you're going to do it, say you're going to do it and do it. This is why the rest of the world takes this president as a joke, in my opinion, because he's never followed through with anything he said.
He passed health care. He won a second term.
Right.
What else has he followed through with?
But he hasn't done anything that he promised he was going to do. Healthcare, that's it. That's the only thing he gets to hang his hat on.
That's not true. Look at the network of intelligence that he has set up for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but he never made that as a campaign promise. And if he did, he probably still would have been elected. But that's not the point. He got health care through, but he said he was going to fundamentally transform the United States of America, and he has done a pretty good job. By golly, you got me on that one, too.
Yeah.
But Guantanamo's still open. He's going back to that recently, too, a couple of times. Well, we do something about Guantanamo. Well, you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah. You know, buy him another freaking widescreen TV, and that's what you're going to do about Guantanamo.
So that's where I am with Syria. I almost and I'm not hoping he commits treason, so we have a reason to impeach. But if you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. And then suffer the consequences. But don't say you're going to do it and not do it and be the hero on both sides. We're going to do something.
He's not a hero on both sides. His poll numbers are tanking right now.
Well, now he is. Yeah, he's dropped more in the last 2 weeks than I think he has his entire administration, his entire time in the White House. I cannot believe that we are at this point in this country.
Which point? The point where you have states that are counties and states that are talking about
getting out,
forming their own.
When you have
North Colorado,
when you have state senators that are so fed up with the Democratic Party and the lies that they propagate, that they change their political alliance and give a fairly intelligent and articulate reason why. And I'm talking about the state senator out of Louisiana. I think that's going to happen more and more.
I think Ken converted him.
Well, you know what? Ken's probably converted a lot of people.
I think Ken converted him. And if you don't know, this state senator is African American.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat, progressive Democrat, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe he was.
And he got so sick of the BS that the Democratic Party was spewing, and basically said, "Hey, this is a party about oppression, not about helping people, not about lifting others up. They disguise this assistance as help when in fact it's just meant to keep people down and keep power." So he became a Republican. And Ken, being our African American conservative friend from the Exceptional Conservative Show, I'm pretty sure had a hand in that somehow. There's a connection there.
Well, you know what's funny is, do you remember there is a preacher out there, E.W. Jackson, that we've talked about before, who said this right around the time of the election. The same exact thing. He came out and gave out a 5-minute video as to pretty much why the Democratic Party consistently lies to African American people.
And we played that on the shows.
So you're hearing it again, and you're hearing it a lot start to echo more and more in the African American community. A lot of people are getting fed up with the Democrats promising all this stuff, and then it turns around realizing, wait a minute, you're just using us.
I don't think I agree that a lot of the African American voting bloc is to that point. I think that the African American conservative base is
fired up.
Yeah, but it's small.
Yeah,
it's very, very small. I mean, I think that the senator that just switched sides makes number 3 that I know of.
You're talking
Ken being one, a retired Master Chief in the Navy being another, and the senator.
Mr. E, who joins us occasionally.
Mr. E, who joins us.
Bishop E.W. Jackson.
Okay.
Wayne Dupree.
But I don't know them personally, right?
Personally.
So
correct.
Personally, I know 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vern.
Right.
Our news contributor. She's a liberal.
Yeah.
I love her to death.
But she's a liberal. It is what it is.
So I don't think that a large segment of the African American population, that voting bloc, is conservative or even switching. I really don't.
But I
don't see that anywhere else.
Through my personal interactions with African American quote unquote Democrats, and even Vern to a point we talk off the air, she's starting to become more fed up with this administration and as a whole, and the party as a whole. And she's agreed with stuff that we've said about, hey, you know what, it's just not right. It doesn't matter. You can wrap a turd however you want, and it's still crap, and that's what they keep dishing at them. Hey, this is going to be great for the African American community. No. You look at the healthcare and what it's going to end up costing people, and how much more premiums and stuff. Who's going to shoulder that burden? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be longer lines that they never told anyone about, and all that. So you keep going, and it's going to unravel more and more. And I think maybe by 2014 you're going to see a bigger African American conservative base, a bigger Hispanic conservative base. I think they're going to start rising because I think, and this is a prediction, but I think that the rubber's starting to meet the road where they turn around and it's not acceptable.
I disagree with you on the Hispanic base as well. I think that even if this immigration bill passes, I think if this immigration bill passes, I really believe the Democrats are going to have a rock solid power base and the Republicans will not see the White House again in a very long time. I just think that, look, even though they may be conservative socially in some respects, right, especially a lot of Hispanic families are Catholic and so forth, so they're conservative to a point socially, but fiscally they're not. Fiscally, they typically support large programs such as healthcare reform, such as food stamp programs and so forth. They support those types of larger government programs, and the Democrats are the ones that bring those programs. And I don't see that changing. Look, in an issue like Proposition 8 in California, very liberal state, you saw the minority vote go with Proposition 8, right? You see them wanting to defend that traditional marriage, and that was both the African American vote as well as the Hispanic vote. Right. Okay, went to support that effort. That is one minor issue compared to the other issues, like I've indicated, right? Like the social, like the healthcare, like some of the welfare programs that they're supportive of, some larger government programs, and that's not going to change. And unless the Republican Party starts bringing the narrative only to those types of arguments, such as traditional marriage definitions or whatever, I don't see them supporting that. And really, those arguments are going away today because you have more conservatives becoming libertarian or have libertarian-esque leanings. Even the younger Hispanics that I've had an opportunity to speak with that are like, hey, you know what? If what they do in their bedroom or whatever, none of my business. I don't care. So I think those issues that the Hispanic community are conservative on now, the younger generation are going to be moving away from that and become even more solidly Democrat. That's why I disagree with that assessment. But who am I? I don't know.
I just meant to say a lot. I didn't think they were going to grow a lot. I just meant they were going to grow.
What, like by one?
And then you cut me off.
Shrink back down again?
You cut me off, and 4 minutes later I woke up, and I was like, what still happened? And you were still talking, so I went back to sleep and let you finish. Hey, that was a good point you made. That was... You were dialed on that.
What? Did I nail it?
Dude, it was like old school against Carvel. You just glazed over, and you just pretty much told the future of what's going to happen in this country politically based on what passes and what doesn't. So that was outstanding.
Look, I don't know if you know this, but I have a crystal ball.
That's what you've been playing with this whole time. So I agree with you. I think a lot more people are starting to go the libertarian route. They're starting to get, again, the whole two-party system we're warned against. I think people are starting to see why it's so wrong, because they're saying, hey, you know what, the super hard right-wing conservative, super hard left progressive left is different than the blue dog progressive versus the social conservatives and the libertarians. And I think people are starting to see that, and I think they're starting to go more libertarian away from the hard-lined parties.
I think most people are libertarian one degree or another, whether you're, conservative libertarian, whether you're more of a liberal libertarian.
Right, like the caller we had a few weeks ago.
Right, she was more of a liberal, but I would classify her as more of a liberal libertarian. She was more of a blue dog Democrat.
I don't think she wanted to admit that, but she was. She kept trying to say that she was a Democrat, and the more she talked,
but you know what? I would classify her more of a traditional Democrat,
an old blue dog, which is outstanding. I'd rather that than super progressives. We need to break these parties.
But hey, if you're still listening to us, just so you know, Monica, Kennedy would be a Republican by today's standards. I'm just throwing it out there for you.
On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 3 with Sockheads Radio.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Dr. Larry Arnn on why the Constitution limits government.
James Madison writes in Federalist 51 that men are not angels. Their passions and self-interest often get the better of their reason and sense of justice. So we need government in order to protect our rights against those who would take them away. But for the same reason, Madison writes, government must be limited because people in government have passions and interests too. Many Americans today forget this, supposing that we can do away with constitutional limits on government, supposing that the unelected bureaucrats being put in charge of our health care, for example, will rule as if they are angels. If Madison was correct about human nature, this is foolish and dangerous.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating relevancy and quality.
And we've moved safely into the drone protection bunker.
Yeah.
So hopefully we won't get flashed anymore.
By the drone that...
I just thought it was weird that as soon as the audio cut out, my iced coffee started boiling.
No, that is weird. But, you know, we just said, you know, hopefully no drones fly by. Fortunately, they're not flying drones over the United States spying on... Hey, you know what? The FBI director testified today.
He did.
He did. And I think he touched on this topic.
Yeah, he was talking to Chuck Grassley, and this is Grassley asked specifically about drones in the FBI, and here's the exchange.
Does the FBI use drones for surveillance on U.S. soil?
Yes.
What?
I want to go on to a question.
And well, let me just put it in context, though, in
Sure.
a very, very minimal way, and very seldom.
Minimal and seldom.
What? Okay.
What's minimum?
And what is seldom?
Because there's people who seldom shower, and it's
right
once every other day, and there's some people who seldom shower, and it's once a month. That's an opinion at that point.
It's very, very minimal, and it's very seldom. Define seldom. It's there's 24 hours in a day, and the drone is down for an hour refueling. That's seldom. 24 would be a lot.
Who is writing his talking points? I mean, Carney? That's like a Jay Carney answer. It's very few and far between. What's few and far between? 12 times a day for about 6 hours at a time. That's more than
there's
yeah, we
hours
overlap
a day.
that easily.
Yeah. Well, there's more than one drone, so...
Well, we only have a few. Oh, so we can't cover the whole country? Oh, no, those things are wicked fast. They can go from A to B in a minute. And they can hover for hours. They just stay up there looking at whatever we want them to. Look, if you ever played a video game, it's kind of like that. It's really cool, only instead we just spy on people.
As a matter of fact, maybe you've heard of the game, Call of Duty. You know when you bring the drone up, that's actually, those are kids actually controlling things.
They actually said that during the hostage situation in Alabama a couple months ago where the guy killed the bus driver and took the kid hostage, they said that they used a drone in that. It's still scary, the fact that they're flying drones over. And I know
they used a drone in that. Now, that was a law enforcement call, correct?
Yeah, it was a hostage situation.
Okay, so that would be a law enforcement call.
I don't think the Red Cross was running it.
So does the civil authorities use the drones, or are those controlled by the military?
I believe there are civil authorities that have applied for drones, whether or not they're using them or not yet.
What about the drones that the federal government's talking about? I'd like to know that.
Yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
Is the military authorized to fly? Is the pilot military or is the pilot civilian authority?
Well, I think
I don't like it either way. Don't get me wrong.
But I want to know specifics.
I want to know specifics.
I know Border Patrol uses them to monitor the border, and I believe that's specifically run by Border Patrol. I don't think it's military.
Okay, and those are armed?
Allegedly, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why would they be? We don't want to stop people from coming in. You know why they have that? Because they fly the drone over the border and they're counting the votes that they're going to have next election cycle. That's what they're doing. Hey, listen, so we need...
Attention Acorn on the ground. You have 3 coming over the border.
3 coming over the border.
Get ready to sign them up immediately and put them in line.
That's right. But not in Arizona. Let's sign them up in California. Arizona and Texas can be a little slippery sometimes. They can, they can kind of catch things.
They might have local laws that, oh, wait, the Supreme Court just took care of that. Doesn't matter.
You know what? We just solved one of the big questions as far as why the Border Patrol needs to use drones to watch criminal aliens come across the borders. And now we know that it's so the Democrats in power know how many votes they're getting. Think about it. They have a whiteboard, right, or a tally sheet. And they're like, okay, so we exported 1 and 700 came across illegally. We gained 699 votes.
You know, this used to mean a bad thing. The old air raid siren. The old air raid siren used to mean bad things. Now it just means more votes.
Right.
That is brilliant. Let's write that down somewhere.
Thank you. Yeah, think about it, right? We're going to reduce Border Patrol agents that are patrolling, and we're going to call it sequester. That'll be great. And then we're going to use drones. That way we can still see what's happening, but nobody can take action against it. And boom, we get people on the government dole. We get votes. Everybody's happy. We stay in power.
All right. So we know the FBI is using them few and far between in this country. There must be strict guidelines in place on how they use it, when they use it, and why they use it. Unfortunately, Mueller answers that question.
So instead of asking a question, I think I can assume, since you do use drones, that the FBI has developed a set of policies, procedures, and operational limits on the use of drones, and whether or not any privacy impact on American citizens.
Well, we are in the initial stages of doing that, and I will tell you that our footprint is very small.
Okay, so we haven't quite figured out all the rules yet. We're just going to try.
But we're just using them.
We'll wait until we get sued, and then we'll see. We'll take our chances with the courts and see if the courts okay it, and then it becomes case law, and we can do it more and more. By the way, in the next 4 years, the Supreme Court's probably going to be a liberal court. So, the odds are in our favor to pull this one off. That's pretty much what he just said.
Or, you know what, we're just going to do it anyway because there is no case law on it. We're going to create case law, but by then it's
You know what,
too
the
late.
Attorney General would never let this happen. That's the only thing that comforts me at the end of the day is I know that when this gets all the way up to the Attorney General's office, it's going to get nipped in the bud.
Yeah, and he is not of the opinion that lethal force could be used at some point. Oh, no, he was. He was on that.
Yeah, no.
But he did recant that, kind of, right? So,
sort of.
So we're probably okay.
He took about a step back from it.
Look, just trust the government. Trust me.
I'll transmit this message to Vladimir. That's a different story, though.
Trust.
It's scary to me that A, they're flying over, but B, they don't even have guidelines and policy in place.
Why is it scary to you? Shouldn't the people scare them?
Yes, and that's the problem in this country right now. And the FBI, and I know they're going to say, well, we don't use this really on American citizens. We use this on potential terror suspects, blah, blah. They're going to.
But then who defines a potential terror suspect?
As we've discussed before.
As we've discussed, right? That whole slippery slope.
That's a changing narrative constantly.
Exactly, and it's
adjusted.
What this administration defines as a terrorist group, another administration may define differently. It's kind of like the Patriot Act and how we were able to flip Rooster. I'm just throwing it out there.
By the way, Rooster is on this Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio with this show, Conservative Outcry Show.
And you know what? I wish him all the luck in that. He has the potential to have a really good show. If his show is as good as his blog, I think he will do well.
Well, I think he'll do well, and I think it'll be interesting. And again, we don't always see eye to eye 100% with everything that between the two of us, but
which is a good thing.
Exactly. It's good debate. It's healthy debate, and it's going to be. He is an absolute right.
And I like to win, so it works out.
But back to the drones. So we know that they're using them. We know the Border Patrol has them, quote unquote, to check the border. Which, by the way,
just say count votes now. That's how we're going to refer to it.
I wonder if the Mexican government gets mad if the drones cross over into their airspace.
What are they going to do? Shoot it down?
Well, yeah, they have split shots.
Oh, that's
true. The Mexican Air Force?
Yeah. They were built by the lowest bidder.
We have our drone, too. We're just taking it out of the box and putting our batteries in it. But hold on a second.
Right. It's not our drone. Look, this is our Air Force. That's not an Air Force. That's a Cessna. No, it's our Air Force.
It's a radio-controlled Cessna. Yeah, we're building it slowly but surely. But
it's got a BB gun on it. It's held on with duct tape.
I could tape a Wi-Fi camera to this, and it's pretty much the same thing as you guys
You've heard of GoPro? Yeah, we have something similar.
We have a knockoff of that.
It's called slow-mo. Just because that's how it films. Listen, we can see what you're doing.
So we know Border Patrol's been using it. We know FBI has been using it. There's been some reports, and I have yet to see this 100% confirmed, that there are some local law enforcement that have applied for them.
I'm sure FEMA doesn't have any, right?
Going to say,
I'm sure they
I bet you if FEMA has them, why would FEMA have them?
Lick it.
We need to use it to be able to check disaster areas, and we can use it to find victims in disaster areas.
I want to know if FEMA has them. I don't know that. I don't know if they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But look, they have MRAPs, right? They have armored vehicles.
Right.
They have a bunch of ammunition.
Right.
And why wouldn't
I know they cleaned Walmart out. You can't get around in there to save your life right now. Quite literally, as a matter of fact.
And why wouldn't you have drones?
Yeah. It makes sense if you build
And if you have that much ammunition and you have armored vehicles, why wouldn't you have drones and armament for that drones?
And we know
drones.
We know they have the same helicopters that the military has. They have Black Hawks. So that'll be interesting, too, to see if FEMA does. And again, the FBI just got called out on this. Border Patrol kind of got called out on it sometime last year, and they said, we just usually check the border because it's such a wide border and it takes us so much time to cover it that we can't cover it. The FBI, well, you know what? We're looking for this individual, and it's such a big country.
Uh-huh.
And we have so much space we have to cover. They're going to change that narrative over and see if people will accept it.
Look, a couple things came out that an FBI spokesman said later. And one is they said they must first obtain the approval of the FAA to use the drones in a, quote, very confined geographic area.
So they have to get airspace clearance.
Well, hang on a second. The United States of America is a clearly defined geographic area, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that doesn't really tell us anything. Thank you, Mr. FBI spokesman.
So they have to file a flight plan.
That doesn't even say that. I mean, approval of the FAA, what is that, a permit? What? Yeah, you can use drones, right? Almost like a robot, right?
What do they do, say no?
Military, law enforcement, fire, people that use robots, they have to get...
Well, and that's interesting, because when 9/11 was occurring, and I just want to make this point real quick, the FBI denied the Air Force jets that were responding looking for, I think it was Flight 11, into downtown New York it refused to give them the airspace clearance, and they had to go out over the water and wait. So it'll be interesting to see how much weight the FAA holds in that.
Yeah, I'd be like, listen, I'm in an F-15 and you're on the ground in a tower. I'm flying over. What are you? You're going to send my buddy up to come shoot me down? Hey, Pete.
Negative. As a matter of fact, I know I'm the only alert aircraft within 2 hours of here that has munitions on it. So what?
Yeah, and the spokesman also said that they were, quote, only utilized to conduct surveillance operations on stationary objects or stationary subjects. Now, California is a stationary subject.
It's a large stationary subject.
It's the largest stationary.
Now, granted, parts of it move during earthquakes.
Right. Actually, I guess technically everything is moving because we are in orbit, Earth spins, so obviously this guy's lying. But
the drones are in orbit too, so if you zero it out, we're stationary.
Okay. But so the mountaintop that they're surveying, or the home that you're surveying. Stationary object. Now, you just happen to be moving around there.
Right. And we talked about this with drones, and I wrote something on our website a long time ago. I personally, from the standpoint of I don't want the government to see what I'm doing, I've said this before, I do zero interesting.
Right.
So me, personally, I would applaud them if they came to watch me because they would be bored out of their mind.
They're following you to the store. You're like, wait a second, I thought it was supposed to be stationary object. The FBI's like, your wallet is stationary in your pocket.
I'd like to say that your socks are stationary with inside your shoes and your underwear are stationary, and we're zeroed in on that.
Right. Clearly, Your Honor, there were several stationary objects in and about his person that we were using.
But as a citizen on the whole, this is infuriating to me. You know, like I said, I get nothing. If anyone wants to watch me, good better on them, because I will absolutely sunbathe in my backyard with nothing on and wave the entire time.
And the big jar of Crisco, which makes it awesome.
How do you think I get this nice pink hue? You know, but as a citizen, it's infuriating to me. I'm furious over it because who the hell are they? You know, with the NSA and all this other stuff that's coming out, now drones, which we've suspected, we've talked about it before, we've made jokes. It's just instead of the black helicopters following us now,
we make joke.
I said we make jokes.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Plural. We make jokes.
Pluralized it. Come on now. We've suspected drone use for a while now. And we've seen drones. I think there was one over Chicago last year that was confirmed. I believe there was one down in Florida, which people got pictures of. And somebody said, well, it was a flyover training thing. Florida has a base, I think, that runs some drones. Chicago, they're nowhere around it. And it was before the president was going to speak about something. It's always, but for them to confirm it and then say they don't have a policy gives them carte blanche of, hey, you know what, we're going to do it, and there's no rule stopping exactly what we do. Well, we have to get clearance from the FAA. That's a big hurdle. How many planes are flying right now? Only 100,000 over the U.S. at any given moment. Okay. So where's the hurdle in that? Well, if there's bad weather, we may have to wait an hour or two. Like, there's no that's not a speed bump. That's not a guideline. That's not something that keeps them from stepping on people's liberties. There's nothing there. And that's what bothers me. There is nothing there to prevent it from going further.
Did this just shut off again?
No, I just had to take a breath.
You were doing so well. I was waiting for more, and it just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah. Look, the movie reel broke halfway through, and all I could hear in my head was as it spun on the reel. And the only old guy in the whole arena that knows how to put it back together was asleep.
Right, because that's what Rooster's doing right now.
In
the John. Because Rooster would be asleep.
In the John.
In the John. Look, I want to touch on the Supreme Court. SCOTUS came out this week with the ruling. It was a 7-2 vote to throw out Arizona's requirement that potential voters document their U.S. citizenship. And they threw it out on the grounds that the voter registration form that was produced under the motor voter registration law doesn't require that information. Therefore, a state cannot require that information be provided. I have mixed feelings on this. Overall, I disagree with the ruling, and I'll tell you why. I understand the fact that the federal government, the Supreme Court says, yeah, there's a federal form, and you as a state cannot ask for information that's not on that form. But what precludes the state, because as I understand it, state law can be more restrictive, but it cannot be more permissive than federal law, unless it violates Constitution or something of that nature. So with that in mind, why could Arizona, because there are state elections, correct?
Last time I checked.
State senators, state legislative members.
City.
Right. So,
school boards.
So I can understand the motor voter registration laws, this federal form.
Elks Club elections.
Pertaining to federal elections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps Congress people, U.S. senators, president, vice president. But what would preclude Arizona from putting a form out and say, hey, if you want to vote in a state election, you fill out this state form, voter registration form, and provide proof of citizenship.
Right.
And I don't know that this ruling leaves the ruling falls short of saying, hey, yes, if you're here criminally, you can vote. But it puts a pretty big hurdle up, and in my opinion, it kind of stands in the way of states' rights. Look, if the federal court wants to rule on federal elections, okay. But Arizona has state elections, and under the 10th Amendment, I believe they retain the right to control their state elections as they see fit, as long as they're not disenfranchising somebody. And the Supreme Court didn't say that anybody was disenfranchised. So that's the issue I have. And the Supreme Court affirmed that all U.S. citizens have the right to vote.
Yeah.
Look, we're not disputing that.
Felons or
right. We're not disputing that. What I'm disputing is a Supreme Court dictating, by virtue of their ruling, how a state can conduct its state elections.
Well, again, I agree with you on this 100%. Whether I agree or disagree, I understand the federal portion of this. But when you get to state, how can it tell you? How can the Supreme Court tell you what your state voting law should be? Because then at that point, the state voting commissions might as well be disbanded, and federal government might as well just oversee every election ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, much like the UN does in this country. They just oversee all the elections and they make their decisions as to whether it's right or wrong. I don't agree, and I haven't seen the full text on how it was written, but on the forefront, I would say that this is a huge toe step on the boundaries of states' rights, and I would think it's a bump up against the 10th. It'd be interesting to see how this translates, and also other states that were thinking about doing a voter ID.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see how they change their wording to kind of try to get around this and say, well, okay, fine, state only or city only or what have you. But I find a problem, as always, of that reach of, like you said, a more permissive or
they can be more restrictive.
Right, more
states,
restrictive
but not
is
more,
what I meant.
Not more permissive.
And saying that states don't have the right to make restrictions within their state.
Well, it's interesting. Judge Clarence Thomas and Judge Samuel Alito were the two dissenting judges. And in the dissent opinion, Justice Thomas said something that I actually think is a pretty astute statement. It says that, in essence, the Constitution authorizes states to determine the qualifications of voters in federal elections, which necessarily includes the related power to determine whether those qualifications are satisfied. So it sounds to me like the majority opinion in this, it seemed like they relied heavily kind of on that motor voter law. But if the motor voter law is overreaching in its authority as far as dissuading states from determining the qualification, of voters in federal elections, but let alone state elections. I'll even take it a notch down and say state elections, because I think that's an easier sell, an easier case to make. Then I think the court has it wrong in this case, and maybe the motor voter law needs to be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that the Supreme Court would
do anything with it.
What happens if they strike down the motor voter law, and then this ruling was struck down in large part because of that? Would it strike down the strike down of this law and reenact Arizona's legislation?
That's going to be interesting to see. Because if they use that for the basis of their argument, and then you go after that and they destroy it, then that would destroy this argument.
Ooh, what if the progressives succeed in destroying the constitutional republic we have, and since the Supreme Court relies on the Constitution, inferior opinion, for all their opinions, now everything that they've ruled on is out the window? How awesome would that be?
Wow. That's scary. That is a frightening. How do you sleep at night?
I don't know how my brain works. Listen. The federal government in Roe versus Wade said that it's constitutional. Whoa. You progressives successfully destroyed the Constitution, therefore Roe v. Wade is invalid.
But even well, with Second Amendment rights, the Constitution, it's now illegal to say the C word, so you're going to have to respond to the camp. I didn't even know. Get over to the camp. I look good in gray. It's sad that, we joke about making these leaps, but it's not really a leap right now. Like, it's scary as time progresses, if you will.
You can actually kind of follow the progression. No pun intended for progressive and progression.
Oh, no, there's a huge pun intended there. Let's not lie to the 405 listeners for the first time, huh? Come on. Listen, we're going to pop a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Snowden, the NSA, and whatever we get to, because it's awesome. That's just how we roll here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Back in 3.
I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people will be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. PolitiGalNetwork.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitiGalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitiGalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitiGalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Hey, and we're back.
Yeah, we are.
That was a quick break.
No.
That seemed a lot quicker than usual.
These breaks always get quicker the more you have to go to the bathroom. You ever notice that? That, and if I find a guy that keeps moving the bathroom further down the hall, he and I can have some serious words. Because the room that used to be the bathroom, the woman working out of that office was not pleased, and I have to buy her a new ficus plant.
Look, want to talk about start with the NSA real quick before we get into Snowden. And one thing about the NSA is they've always had a pretty solid background and a really solid understanding of the United States Constitution, and specifically the Fourth Amendment as it pertains to search and seizure. And I think that I don't know that this current administration or director would be any different from previous directors or deputy directors. What do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I can't imagine he'd be different, would you? I mean, it's just on the surface, it seems like the job would be the same.
You would think.
My understanding is that the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution specifies that you must have probable cause to be able to do a search that does not violate an American's right against unlawful searches and seizures.
Actually, the Fourth Amendment actually protects all of us against unreasonable search and seizure.
But the measure is probable cause, I believe.
The amendment says unreasonable search and seizure.
But does it not say probable?
No.
The court standard, the legal
unreasonable
standard,
search and seizure.
the legal standard is probable cause.
Just to be very clear, okay, and believe me, if there's any amendment to the Constitution that employees of the National Security Agency are familiar with, it's the Fourth. And it is a reasonable standard in the Fourth Amendment.
And
to quote the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States in its entirety,
by probable cause.
Well, that's exactly what it should say, right?
Well, what he says is no. It says reason, and the reporter comes back and says, yeah, supported by probable cause.
Well, yeah,
and he says, no, look, we know the Fourth Amendment here at NSA, and all of us, everybody at the NSA is really spun up essentially on what the Fourth Amendment says. And no, it says it protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures. And again, it says based on probable cause. And the deputy director of the NSA was unable to know that it was based on probable cause. So I'd like to take a moment, and this just got my attention. I remembered seeing this before, so I pulled it up and I was able to watch it again. I encourage our listeners to pull it up and watch it again. We had the audio. We're experiencing technical difficulties, so we don't have it right now. But Article 4 says, quote, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Okay, so he was right on that one small part. Shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. So,
there's that whole probable
cause thing. So, okay, never mind. Forget the whole argument that the NSA people are really well.
But they haven't forgot the argument. That's the sad part. You know, as we get further into the NSA and this leaks with Snowden, it's coming out more and more.
Well, look, the NSA does not have the authority to listen to phone calls, to scan emails, or anything like that. But
General Alexander, is the NSA on private companies' servers as defined under these two programs?
We are not.
Is the NSA have the ability to listen to Americans' phone calls or read their emails under these two programs?
No, we do not have that authority.
Does the technology exist at the NSA to flip a switch by some analyst to listen to Americans' phone calls or read their emails?
No.
All right, you hear that?
Ooh. Okay. So do you have the ability to? We do not have that authority. No. Do you have the ability? He didn't answer the question. He was asked, do you have the ability to listen to phone calls, scan emails, this kind of, and he said, we do not have that authority. So my first question is, why did he not answer the question? My second question is, why did that congressman not follow up with, whoa. I know you don't have the authority. I asked if you have the ability.
Well, the general was asked about that, and he responded.
Ooh, I love to dance a little side step. Now they see me, now they don't have and gone.
I didn't know Carney was there. That's weird.
He said it's something to do with the training that they get with the administration on how to answer questions. Why didn't the congressman just go after him and say, hey, that's not the question I asked you. Where is Trey Gowdy when you need him?
So first of all, my question to the congressman, and I know I'm taking focus away from the general here for a moment, but congressman, you're asking these questions, and are you asking these questions because you're just going through the motions so that when it comes time for re-election, you can say, oh, look, we had these hearings and we asked these questions. Are you just going through the motions, or do you really give a crap about what's going on in this country?
I wasn't looking at you when that happened. I was like, when did we get a dump button?
Do you really care that people's Fourth Amendment rights are being violated, most likely by the NSA? And why are you not following up on that? So that would be my question to that representative. His lack of follow-up tells me, as a voter, that he's going through the motions, that he really doesn't give a crap about the hearing or what's going on or the fact that people's rights are being violated, and he's doing this for show, just asking questions that he feels he needs to ask without really listening. Well, he's not hearing, without really listening to the answer.
Right.
And I have a major problem with it. That is not an investigation.
No, he's asking the question that people want to hear. They want to hear that question. Do you have the authority or the ability? Do you have the ability? Yeah, we have the ability. No, we don't have the authority. Oh, okay. Well, that's good enough for me. Tea time? I had noon tea time. So
and that's what I mean.
Like, it is.
That's what that tells me. His lack of follow-up tells me exactly that he is not serious about his duty. Either that, or he is a buffoon.
Right.
I mean, either that or he
wrote that question, he read it, and he has
didn't listen to the answer.
He has no idea how to grasp what the answer was.
So is he ignorant? Is he taking a play out of the Obama administration playbook? Yeah, I don't know. Is he ignorant? Is he incapable of conducting an investigation as like maybe he needs to in his current position, or is he just doesn't care?
I'm going to go with D, all the above.
Okay.
Listen, I don't really know much about that particular representative.
I don't either, but that one snippet kind of tells a story. It paints a picture, right?
It paints a humongous picture. It really gives you an insight. If that was me, and we've seen other representatives, Trey Gowdy, really start to hammer ISA, start to hammer these guys of, hey, you know what? That's not what I asked you. Answer the question that I asked you. We got that a lot with Benghazi. We got that a lot with IRS. And it should be happening with the NSA. Now, perhaps he's under the belief personally that it's completely okay with him that the NSA does what they do and he's still making it look good. Like we said, that's the question people want him to ask. It doesn't matter. The matter is your constituents demand an answer, and especially if you ask a question and not get the direct answer you're looking for, your constituents demand a follow-up, and they demand one that makes sense.
They deserve one.
Absolutely.
You know what? You are there. You are there. Yes, on their behalf.
and you work for us as a whole. Yeah. It's your job to help defend the Constitution and the people in this country against anybody who's impeding on it.
Look,
so stop being a weak, spineless, gutless pain in the ass and actually get out there and do your job. That's the problem. We talk about it all the time.
You know what they are? They're typical federal employees.
I'm sure.
No offense to all federal employees out there. You guys are doing a great job.
But we talk about it all the time. Principled leaders.
You know what? You know what he is? He's like, and no offense, this is going to piss somebody off. They're like DMV employees. Right? You're like talking about something real important about a driving test or something, and they're like back on their phone texting and yeah, I'll get with you, not hearing what you're saying.
Do you ever notice that DMV is like the almost like a leak point for IRS employees? Like that's almost like that's where they train before they get. Right. That's like their minor league ball team, and then after they do a really terrible job there, they get called up. The skipper's like, oh, give me Vera. And Vera gets to go up and put on the IRS badge. We have a conservative trying to file an application. Give me the righty. It's the rookie's first attempt.
No. There's no righties in this administration. Give me the lefty.
The whole team is southpaws. I can just hear the announcer, Vera, who did her last 3 years down in the Baltimore DMV, denying and ignoring people on a regular basis over nothing that mattered. Here goes her first pitch, and it's a denial, strike one. That's right. She denied a nonprofit organization protection for raising cancer for a young child. She's really a fireballer out there, folks. Oh, now that we just eliminated two major sectors of government that might listen to our show, fortunately there's still the NSA, who I guarantee is listening now.
Hi, fellas.
And ladies. We're equal opportunity on this show.
I love the fact that we have so much fun on this show. It's just fun doing this show. Nobody could listen, like they probably don't. I just
anyway. A guy in a dark room somewhere with a set of headphones going, I hate these friggin' guys. Why? It's just a job. I applied. They hired me. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, I'm reading the Constitution, guys. I'm reading it right now. Please stop hurting my feelings.
Jen in the chat room said, make sure she throws the screwball on it.
They can't audit themselves, Ken. You should know that.
So,
by the way, nice job turning that state senator.
Well, so what we have here is obviously the NSA, who's not answering to anybody, and then we have a representative who...
That's not true. They answered questions in front of Congress today. Stop misrepresenting.
Who, all right, essentially telling us that they don't answer anybody, and they don't have to answer anybody. And then we have the state representative who finally has them on the hot seat. Hey, he's going to get them. Yeah, swing and a miss, strike one. I mean, he wasn't even in the ballpark. And that's the sad part. And that's the problem with, I think, a lot of people in elected government right now. It's either personal where they're like, hey, I have an agenda.
What's with the baseball metaphors tonight?
We're in the middle of the season.
Yeah, but you were talking hockey earlier.
Yeah, I know, but Bruins lost. So I think Friday night's game 5. It's 2-2. Well, if I started using a hockey reference, you'd have no idea what I was talking about. That's the sad part.
This is true.
So they moved back and forth, and there was no real further questioning in that whole thing after what I thought was a fairly big admission on behalf. That was a big word and a big difference. Listen, words make or break laws. Words make or break constitutionality. His words were very telling, and it was allowed to just pass by.
And you know, it's not by any stretch of the imagination the first time we've seen this administration use very careful wording in their responses to Congress or to the press. I mean, you look at Carney's responses, or even in these testimonies, Eric Holder's responses to various things, and play that song again. Hit it, maestro.
love to dance a little sidestep. Now they see me, now they don't have come and gone.
This sums up their whole press, the way they approach the press. That's the scariest part. It's so accurate and true. And I could listen to it a million times over and over again.
I know. You know what? This all comes down to, again, the Patriot Act and their ability to spy and use the executive order that we highlighted on the show. What is it, 13-222 or 12-333? I don't remember which one. Originally signed into law by Reagan, modified under Bush twice, and now in use, where it kind of takes out the focus on foreign intelligence and really leaves it very open-ended for intelligence gathering agencies to operate domestically in the United States at the direction of the president. And that's how broad it is. It doesn't say for these specific criteria. It's very, very broad, and
it's almost weird when you're able to sidestep Congress like that.
Yeah, not trying to beat a dead horse, but that's kind of what we do here sometimes. not trying to beat a dead horse, but we're not saying that the Bush administration, when they brought this whole thing up, was evil or had these intentions, but it's that slippery slope, right? What one administration intends is not necessarily how it's going to be carried out through another administration. This is the danger. We're seeing the effects of it. I am so anti-patriot law. Look, at what cost to freedom? Really. I mean, we give up so much and have given government so much power that who's the bigger threat to us? Who's the bigger threat to our way of life? Well, is it? And that's I'm not answering that question, but I think it's a very legitimate question to ask. Is our way of life as Americans? Is our way of life is our demise going to be brought about by extremists, jihadist extremists who are plotting our demise, or is it going to be brought about from within? And you know what? It's going to be brought about from within. If you look at history, and I like pointing to the Roman Empire, right? We are going to be brought about, we're going to bring about our own demise. Look, our system may not be exactly perfect, but we were the freest people on the face of the earth. Right. We had, for a short period of time, true liberty, and that has been encroached upon slowly but surely over time. I hate Woodrow Wilson and his whole administration, and I always go back to that.
6-minute man.
And you start looking at that administration, and that's where I believe our downfall really started to accelerate. But I don't recognize this country even from when I was a kid. And you look at how much we've given up just in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And how our way of life has changed even in that amount of time. We just had the Boston bombings, and you may have foiled some terrorist attack, but you know what? How much liberty do we have? Are we in a Sunstein-esque world where our choices and our day-to-day lives are framed within a certain set of acceptable behaviors, and we just have the illusion of free will and choice?
Well, absolutely, because the other day I went into Burger King, and I asked for a Big Mac, and they said, no, I can only have what's on the menu. Framed choice. I wasn't happy about it, so I got a Whopper. But that's not the point. I got 2 Whoppers. No, I
and a large fry.
You know, and it goes to show you that even with all this snooping and wiretapping and the liberties that get stomped on every day in this country, Boston is a prime example of when it doesn't work. The Pakistani that was in New York, Times Square, trying to light off the propane tanks. Yeah, it didn't go off because he screwed up, but that still says to me it's a successful terror attack. He got it there, he devised it, he built it. He was a moron. That was the difference between it happening and it not happening.
Nothing that our systems did. And look, we're talking about foreign threats. If you want to operate foreign, and Ronald Reagan signed the initial executive order and gave these intelligence agencies, I believe there were 13 or 14 listed. Coincidentally, number 13, I believe, was the Department of Treasury has an intelligence community. I digress. Anyways,
they can't be too intelligent because the dollar sucks right now.
Operate on foreign threats, that's fine. But when you start talking about spying on U.S. citizens and monitoring U.S. citizen phone calls, and look, if this U.S. citizen is tied to or giving aid to a foreign terrorist group, you know what? Then they are committing treason but go after them for that criminal statute, they are still afforded the rights
as an
American citizen. And that's kind of like, because what this group says, again, it comes back to that argument. This group says you're affiliated with a terror group, so we're going to spy on you. Well, what if all of a sudden Tea Party people are terrorists? Oh, wait, some people have already tried painting that narrative.
But I go back to Major Nidal Hassan and the Fort Hood shooting. There's a reason, in my opinion, that wasn't a quote-unquote terrorist attack.
No, it was a terrorist attack.
What was judged, first of all, why the Department of the Military ever said that was a workplace violence.
Because that's what the direction was from their commander-in-chief, I believe.
I completely agree with you. But look at what deniability that gives them on a little, we didn't really know. Yeah, you did. We had no indications. No, there were a lot of indications.
A lot of them.
So all these things that you have in motion, and the FBI were told that, hey, he's trying to contact Anar al-Awlaki. He's looking at him for spiritual guidance. He's on these extremist jihadist websites. Like, you need to look at him. There were other officers that were telling high command, hey, something's wrong with this guy. He's talking about this. He's in public forums. It's not like he's having a small conversation. In public places, he's getting upset, questioning why the Americans are doing what they do overseas in Afghanistan, I believe it was at the time, or Iraq. Either way, it was a swing and a miss. And here's a guy in the military, right, wrong, or indifferent.
It wasn't even a swing.
Right.
It was, you struck out looking.
Yeah.
On all three pitches.
And you never got your ass off the bench.
High-hanging curveballs, each one of them.
So what you're saying is we need these things to be in place to protect us, but time and again it's showing that they fail.
Or they're so worried about political correctness and so worried about pissing the wrong people off that they're not going to act on that intelligence. And they're going to
bomber.
Yeah, and they're going to wait until there's a domestic threat and act on that and say, see, look, this is why.
The attack on the military recruiting office down in Alabama, I believe it was. You can go on and on.
Yeah.
And these are guys that there are history there. And then you look at, all right, fine, you're looking for domestic terror threats. Well, the few that they've known about, they almost didn't catch. And the one I'm thinking of is the anarchists that were trying to blow up the bridge. I believe it was in Ohio. And I believe, again, that was a failure on their behalf more than it was lack of intelligence. So, they just, it's amazing to me how we need this. Well, where has it worked? We stopped over 50 terrorist attacks.
No,
which ones?
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
Stuff.
It's classified.
Just stuff.
No, well, if you've already stopped it, you might as well tell us about it. Yeah, it's classified. Okay, so you really have no proof. Nope, not a damn thing.
Nope, but I can't because it's classified. Just trust us.
Right.
I'm with the government. I'm here to help. you know what?
DMV.
You know what would stop? You know what would stop terrorism in its tracks, domestic or international?
Guns.
Guns would. But a free-loving people that love their liberty and love their country,
they refuse to accept that.
And when they see something, and when they're armed and are capable of dealing with something, they can take action to stop it.
Yeah, I agree.
Or even if, we don't want to arm everybody, that's scary. Okay, if they choose to exercise their constitutional rights, and they're...
I love these towns that are saying you must have a weapon in your home.
And they're not criminal, and they're not crazy, right? But they carry a gun. You know what? That's less police officers that we need to employ, right? Because you now have citizenry who are going to take care of their own. I'm not saying you don't prosecute. I'm not saying you still don't have a legal system. You still have police and you still have those supports in place, but you don't need as many. You know why? Because people are capable of defending themselves. And then law enforcement still comes and helps. They can take the report. There can be prosecution and so forth. You still have to operate within the law, but you're going to reduce the amount of police. What about fire? What happened to volunteer fire brigades? How big are fire departments now? And the reason they're big is because they run their big ladder trucks to medical aid calls.
Right.
Just to justify their existence. And look, we've talked to more than one firefighter who's like, yeah, guys, this is kind of ridiculous, but check this out. And we've talked about it just one last week, and we were like, yeah, I believe it.
Right. Because there's waste all over government top to bottom. And then when you go to talk about, hey, we need to save money and cut things, well, you can't cut it here because we've done X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at some failed transit systems and how much money keep getting dumped in by the federal government. Well, hey, you know what? This one doesn't work.
Name 700.
Portland, Sacramento, I believe Dallas, they all have that same style of system. And they get around it in cute ways. Like I know the city of Sacramento Regional Transit, it's called, they count their ridership by how many people are on the trains. People go on and click and count, not by how many tickets are sold.
Right.
So that's how they get around. We have to have X amount of riders to get federal dollars. Well, is there something in place that's tickets sold? No, it's just ridership. So I can just go and essentially screw with the numbers, and they're still going to give me the same money. Why are we still dumping money into a system like that? It's the overall waste. This whole NSA thing, there's a ton of waste in there, I guarantee you. And to get back to the people actually taking it and doing it on their own, have you heard about Glock Block? With the GL, Glock Block.
No.
It's a town up in, it's Jennings Lodge in the neighborhood of, I'm sorry if I screw this right up when I say it, Clackamas County, Oregon, they've all started to get their concealed weapons permit because crime has increased, and they have very little support from local law enforcement because their numbers are dwindling.
Right.
They have, it's almost like they're, some people are calling them a vigilante group, some people are calling them Enhanced Neighborhood Watch, but they're calling themselves Glock Block.
And we're not for vigilantes.
Not at all.
Look, don't go act on your own. Look, act within the law.
But this is, I think, where people feel that they have to go because of what is happening.
But it's not the government's job to protect us.
They have a flyer that says, we don't call 911, is a flyer that's posted in that neighborhood on the residents. I will defend, one of the residents says, I will defend myself and my home because there's been an increase in crimes in the neighborhood, and I guess the police took a long, they're out in the middle of nowhere and there's only a few cops around, so it takes a long time to get there. So they feel that they've had to go to this point. Well, that's for petty crimes. What's going to happen when the government starts really stepping on people's liberties even more so? And it affects, because a lot of the stuff that people don't think affects them, and what's going to happen when it starts showing it affects them? I think the IRS thing, people are like, oh, it kind of affects me. The NSA now, people are like, oh, all right, that affects me a little bit. If it keeps going, people are going to get pissed. And it scares me that they're not holding the people in government responsible now before it gets to that point. It needs to be done now.
But one thing that I think
need to be voted out.
One thing that I think is, but not to be holding my breath. One thing that I find very interesting, and you're finding more, or at least it seems to me, and I haven't done the research to support this, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it seems to me that more elected officials are standing up against this oppressive federal government. And you mentioned city councils who pass measures, and granted, they're largely for grandstanding purposes. They're not going to enforce them.
But they prove a decent point.
But they're these local elected city councils passing ordinances, right? Like you shall carry in our jurisdiction, or you shall own a gun in your home, right? Or these counties that are saying, hey, we want to secede we want to break off and form our own state. Or even states that have sent petitions of secession, or petitions of secession have gone from certain states to the White House, if you remember that. And governments, some county sheriffs saying, hey, we're not going to enforce gun control measures passed by the federal government. You're seeing elected officials, it seems, stand up more against this oppressive federal big monstrosity government. And it's interesting because it's not just a few of the extremist groups that are out there operating independently. You're having elected representatives standing up more so to this. And where does it stop? And if you're having this much now, if this level of I'm just going to call it tyranny, that word's not used as much anymore, but it should be, continues, how many more states are going to stand up? And my concern is there a breaking point? And when will that be reached?
Well, and that brings us to our next subject, Snowden. And we're going to talk about him after the break. But is he a patriot or is he committed treason? We'll talk about that on the other side of 3 minutes here on the Sac Reds Radio. Sac Reds Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Dr. Larry Arnn on why the Constitution limits government.
James Madison writes in Federalist 51 that men are not angels. Their passions and self-interest often get the better of their reason and sense of justice. So we need government in order to protect our rights against those who would take them away. But for the same reason, Madison writes, government must be limited because people in government have passions and interests too. Many Americans today forget this, supposing that we can do away with constitutional limits on government, supposing that the unelected bureaucrats being put in charge of our health care, for example, will rule as if they are angels. If Madison was correct about human nature, this is foolish and dangerous.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're back. We were talking before we went into the break about the NSA and how people are reacting to it and how government officials should be reacting to it. And it brings us to the Snowden character, Eric Snowden. And the question to me is, you know, we talked about this the other night, is he a patriot that's actually saw something wrong and decided to say something? He's a defense contractor for the Dewey, Boozum, and Howe. And his job essentially was to, for lack of a better term, spy on people that he was told to spy on. And he was given a list of things that he was searching for and following up on and reading into, and then as it came up, he would deal with it. But, you know, he started seeing it targeting more Americans and things on this side of the country. He says, in his words, that he got fed up with it, and he did a whole 12, 13-minute interview that's on YouTube, and he said he essentially got sick of seeing the American people being targeted. I believe he was actually an Obama supporter when during the first election. He just thought that it's gone too far. Now we know his whereabouts were in Hong Kong. His father did the interview on Fox News the other day, asking him not to commit treason, asking him to come home, I believe.
I thought it was a very good interview. Eric Holder, when he was on the 5, he conducted the interview. I thought it was very well done.
I thought it was a very well done interview, too. But it begs the question, did he do this because he felt that American liberties were being destroyed and he's being a patriot? and now he's afraid to come home because he's afraid he's going to be locked away and thrown in the key? Is he going to be considered some sort of enemy combatant somehow and thrown in Guantanamo and never heard from again? Or did he do it because of progressive, if you will, self-progression? He's going to make money off of it if he doesn't get charged. He can go to China and sell secrets and make money. And depending on who, obviously the news is just the news, and whatever side of the aisle they're on, for the most part, is what they're going to stick to. And I've seen polls, and again, polls are polls, but some people as much as 75% say, hey, this guy's a patriot, and other people saying, no, he's a complete traitor to the nation, and he was trusted to do a job to protect our interests, and he didn't do that, and he gave up a lot of our ability that we use to quote-unquote track terrorists.
What do you say?
I'm kind of on the fence, and this is one of those things that I want to see what his actions are before I decide. On the forefront, from what his words are, from what I've seen, with the exception, he may have given up a little bit too much, and I agree with that, and we've talked about that. But I feel that right now he seems like an angry American.
Look, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to throw this out there right off the bat. I do not know what is in his heart.
Right.
I don't know, and because of that, I have to base my opinion on what I've seen, what I've seen through his actions, and what I've heard from his words. And I'll say this: if a citizen sees their government doing something that is so egregious that it violates the constitutional rights of American citizens, I believe they have a duty as an American citizen to speak out against that. So if that's truly where his heart is, I have to applaud him. However, if that's truly where his heart is, why did he flee to China? And he was afraid the government was going to kill him or torture him or whatever it is. I don't know that I buy that argument, because if he's going to China and the Chinese government knows or believes he had those secrets, I don't understand how he can believe he's safe there either. And I don't buy the argument of, well, they could hold him for 20, 30 years until he decides to talk and treat him well or torture him, whatever, because in 20, 30 years our technology is going to change. Our capabilities are going to change. He has information that is germane to the intelligence industry now, not 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And I think that they want that information. And he's smart enough, I think, to know that. So the fact that he decided to not only flee the country, but flee to China really has me wondering. It'd be different if he got an attorney, did whatever else he had to do, and came out and said, hey, listen, here's my face, plaster it all over the place. I'm really afraid I'm going to get tortured and killed for revealing this, but this is what's going on. I think it's wrong as a U.S. citizen. The fact that he went to China, and granted our economies are tied together, so they're not maybe a direct enemy, but we've been at odds with China over some issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I have
human rights being one of them, which would play a big role in this.
So I have a major issue with that, and I have to question his motivation for going to China. Was a deal worked out ahead of time with the Chinese? I think those are questions that beg to be answered, and I don't know that. The other thing I have an issue with is the fact that he talked about our spying on China. And I don't know what that has to do with U.S. citizens' rights being violated. You don't have to.
That's where I had an issue with those statements as well. That's where I thought he went a little too far.
So those two things, it lends me to believe more that, and again, I don't know what's in his heart, but based upon those two things, it lends me to believe more that perhaps he used the other aspect, the spying on American citizens, as an excuse not to look like he was a turncoat or whatever. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but I'm willing to admit that again, I don't know. I don't claim to have all of the facts, and I certainly don't know what his true motivations are. But those two actions speak pretty loudly to me.
Well, and I try to look at it from a lot of different point of views. I know he tried to go to Iceland at one point and gain asylum there, and I think the question came up on how he was going to get there because most
dog sleds. Come on.
I was going to try to come up with a cool Icelandic name for a dog, and I realized I don't speak Icelandic. I know
because anything you would say would be like not Icelandic.
Right?
Right?
I know all British airliners were. He's been put on the no-fly list for that, so I know he was having a hard time getting there because I think British airliners services the most from the region that he's in. To get there, he would probably need a British airline, from what I was reading anyhow.
Iceland, Snowden, nice one, I get it.
Dude, if he had got there, that would have been the best headline ever.
Yeah.
Snowden in Iceland.
You coming back? Nope, I'm Snowden. See how I did that?
I agree with you. We don't know what is in his heart, and we don't know which way he's going to go. Part of my suspicion on why he said the China thing is to have that little piece, that card at the table of, hey, I kind of know what they were looking at for you guys, and if you kill me or send me back, that's information that I have that you may want. He may have been dangling the donut in front of them, so to speak, seeing if he can get them to kind of chase a little bit to give him some protection.
Yeah, but he's an idiot if he doesn't think the Chinese could say, oh, okay, we're just going to grab you then, and we'll see how you hold up to this.
Right, and I know he's in Hong Kong, which I know it's under Chinese rule, but it's not as...
It used to be under British control, but it's bastion of capitalism. When it reverted back to Chinese control,
it started to fall off. It's a whole weird thing. It's curious to me what this administration is going to make him out to be, or what the people in government are going to make him out to be. Like I said, you already had Dick Cheney come out and call him a traitor. You've had numerous Democrats call him a traitor. A couple Republicans have called him a traitor. And it's really going to lie into almost what his legacy is going to end up being. Is he going to sell his country out to China and live in China like a king for the rest of his life with information? Or
is he going to sell us out to China and then get killed by the Chinese government?
No, they can't do that. Because you know why they'll never do that? It's because other possible defectors would see that and not defect them.
What if they just killed him and, oh, yeah, no, he's living lavishly here.
No.
Right? Like Weekend at Bernie's.
No.
They take a picture of his corpse with, like, some hot Chinese gals in front of it. He's got sunglasses on.
That would be a publicity nightmare.
His expression is all the same.
And it might be one of those things where he's living as a quote-unquote prisoner, where he's in this really nice palace, so he's never allowed to leave, but they give him whatever he wants.
Right.
So he can never come back to the country and maybe tell them what they now know. But that would completely deter other people who may possibly defect, if that is, in fact, his intent.
Bernie syndrome.
The Bernie syndrome. That's what we should call that from here on out, the Bernie syndrome. But, it's going to be a legacy thing. And I think that this administration is going to play him up as much of a traitor as possible. I think Dick Cheney is playing him up as a traitor a little bit because he was involved in the original Patriot Act, and it kind of saves his face a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm sure I think that's there as well. He's a traitor because he shouldn't have done that. That's not what the intent of the Patriot Act was, which could very well be the case. But the fact of the matter is the Patriot Act's been exploited so much and expanded so much that here we are today. Again, bad laws further down the line. We've talked about it. Pay attention. And now we have this Snowden guy. And is he going to get snowballed from this nation, or it never stops? Dog sleds, Iceland, Snowden, snowballs. You can't stop it. It's there. You know what I mean? I have to use it. I can't not use it. Or is he going to be a true patriot? Is he going to be able to get a lawyer, secure himself maybe back to a neutral nation like Iceland or Switzerland or Jamaica? I don't know if Jamaica's neutral.
Benedict Arnold started out as an American hero, right?
I understand that. And I absolutely, like I said, his legacy, his actions down the line, I think it's too early to judge. We can have our suspicions, but you don't know, like you said, what's in his heart. And that's going to be interesting. But is it going to be one of those things that he's going to be branded such a traitor by the people of this nation that he will never come back? And will that change what he does?
It's going to depend on him. I want to get into Obama and his speech.
You want to get into Obama?
Listen, I'm just saying. Okay? We're waiting on a ruling from the Supreme Court.
I love the fact that you can do that, man.
What?
That's why I love doing this show to you, is you can pull stuff out. Fine, you want to get into Obama?
What? Mr. President.
Coming down the hall, and he's running.
Mr. President, wait. Whoa, where are you going? No, I'm a progressive. Look at me. I'm
down the stairs and gone already. I want to know why he keeps doing that to us. He teases us all the time. He comes in the front door. I hear him light a cigarette as he's running down the hall, laughing.
Right.
His ears flapping in the wind.
Right.
And then down the stairs and out the back door.
And then the Secret Service guys like laughing.
Yeah, all I heard
just
is
laughing at us.
Something about call me for a beer summit. Don't know what he meant, but we'll get to it. So
which is weird because he never takes our call.
We try.
Mr. President, come talk to us.
We'd love to have a beer summit. What do you want to drink?
Actually, no. You know what? Stay home. I want to hang out with Joe Biden.
Hey, we accept your beer on one condition. You bring Joe.
That's right. You bring Joe Biden, and then you leave.
And we dare Joe Biden to go through an entire beauty pageant, scholarship competition, front to back, as the rules stand for Miss America. He has to be a contestant. That's the rule for Joe to come on the air with.
And he'll be Miss D.C. Right?
And Miss Pennsylvania Avenue.
Nice. And because gender neutral, right? Why can you have a Miss America pageant?
That's not
competition.
It's not fair.
Without having men present.
It's a scholarship contest.
And if he wins, I dare him to have a sex change operation.
Can you imagine how much of an ugly woman he would? He's such an ugly man now.
Hey, Mr. Vice President, in the bathing suit part, you have to tuck. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, actually, the rule is you're not allowed to. And no shaving whatsoever.
The headline on Sackhead's website, Joe's Moose Knuckle.
Oh. Well, it was fun being on the 405 radio. I really enjoyed that time here.
Short-lived.
I keep waiting for the email from John. I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Hey, guys, we were just kidding.
You can't say Moose Knuckle and Mr. Vice President in the same segment.
Moose Knuckle.
Okay, can we say plum smuggler? Can we say that?
Whatever. Banana hammock. Anyways. So getting back to Obama and nukes in Russia, which, by the way, I'm officially at odds with Putin. I've had issues with him before.
Wait a sec. We're getting up to the nukes. You're going to break a different story?
No, go ahead.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. Real quick. President Obama talked about reducing the United States nuclear arsenal by 1/3. And, yeah, I'm sure the Russians are going to do the same. It'll be fine. And then that way we could live in a nuclear-free world, and everything will be roses and rainbows and sunshine, and it'll be wonderful, and we'll all live happily ever after. And then we'll get rid of all the guns, too.
We're going to talk about it. Want to hit? Here go.
No more violence.
And here's the president discussing that.
After a comprehensive review, I've determined that we can ensure the security of America and our allies and maintain a strong and credible strategic deterrent while reducing our deployed strategic nuclear weapons by up to 1/3. And I intend to seek negotiated cuts with Russia to move beyond Cold War nuclear postures.
I'm glad.
At the same time, we'll work with our NATO allies to seek bold reductions in U.S. and Russian tactical weapons in Europe. And we can forge a new international framework for peaceful nuclear power, reject the nuclear weaponization that North Korea and Iran may be seeking. America will host a summit in 2016 to continue our efforts to secure nuclear materials around the world, and we will work to build support in the United States to ratify the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and call on all nations to begin negotiations on a treaty that ends the production of fissile materials for nuclear weapons. These are steps we can take to create a world of peace with justice.
I can hear it now. Hey, Gunther, we are back in business.
The best part is, I think all the German people are applauding going, this is in English. I have no idea what the hell he's saying. The applaud sign's up, so here we go. One of the key things is, and this is one of the things that drives me insane about this president, I have determined, you're all idiots, but I looked at the entirety of the situation.
Right.
Thank goodness I showed up today. I am going to save you from yourselves. I will fix this.
So I get it. It's perfectly in line with his philosophy. He wants to disarm the American people because the federal government will protect us. He wants to disarm the United States because the international community and UN nations will protect us. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it makes perfect sense that that's what he wants to do. Unfortunately, he is an idiot.
I want to know what it's like when he wakes up in his world and the unicorns are riding by him.
It's not unicorns. It's Putin on instead of being on a horse, he's on a unicorn.
On a unicorn.
Right.
Or riding a narwhal. I think he might be riding a narwhal that's jumping over a unicorn
under the rainbow
with dewdrop skies. And really, you think that, hey, you know what? And this just tells you how rhetoric, because even he can't possibly believe this. Russia's going to draw down if we draw down. Really?
You think he doesn't believe that?
No, I don't.
He's opening up talks with the Taliban. You think he doesn't believe that it's going to be sunshine and roses and
souls?
Look, did you say he lost soul?
No, I said.
No, I honestly didn't hear you.
I said they're just lost souls.
Oh, great. Now I got to pull out was that racist or funny? I need a vote from Ken if he's in the chat room still. This just in. Sackhead Sean reports that President Obama lost soul. Great.
You got to have it before you can lose it.
Look, North Korea is definitely not going to draw down. If anything, they're still trying to figure this shit out, right? Same with Iran. We didn't even get to talk about the Iranian elections, which is funny. Term limits got rid of the craziest guy out there in the world today. But
that's what finally got him. Term limits,
right? So look. Our nuclear arsenal is already.
Can you picture the CIA guys that were sent to kill him? I know how we're gonna get him. That poison? No. Explosives? No. Make it look like an accident? Term limits. Why did I think of that? Genius, Bill. You're a genius. We use the Constitution against our people. We might as well use theirs against their own.
No. We disregard ours, but we're going to use theirs.
Right?
Yeah. Look, our nuclear arsenal is already aged.
Yes.
It is not
like a fine whiskey, unfortunately.
Right. Which makes me feel really good, right? This nuclear material is maybe not kept up so well or updated.
That's fine.
Why don't we update our arsenal so that we still are able to respond to a threat and we have that deterrent? Oh, but you're just a warmonger. No, I'm not. I'm a realist, and you're a pussy. So we have that. Look, I love my country. I want it defended. I want to have the means to respond to any kind of major threat like North Korea or Iran. I don't want to see nuclear weapons used. I don't like violence. I don't want wars, but sometimes it is necessary. Look, a nuclear weapon ended World War II. A nuclear weapon saved countless American soldiers' lives because the need for an invasion of the island of Japan was no longer needed.
Right.
We didn't need. Look how many soldiers we lost on D-Day. Right, invading Europe and France.
in order to. By the way, French people that hate us, do you speak German? You're welcome. So, countless American lives were saved because we dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Empire of Japan. So, you know what? I like having that in our arsenal. Not that I ever want to see it used, but you know what? If it's going to save countless American lives like it did once already.
And it affected the outcome in Europe as well.
It did. And you know what? You can't unring the bell. You can't uninvent the atomic bomb. You can't do it. You can't uninvent the gun, Mr. President. Sorry. Unless you have, like, a time machine and a gun to kill the guy who invented the... Ooh. Yeah, never mind. You can't do that.
You can't put it back in the bowl, so to speak. It's not...
Right.
It's not going away.
You can't shove the baby back in. Okay? Sorry. You just can't do it.
You can't uninvent it.
No, that's why we abort it, Sackhead Clint. Okay, Obama, we're getting off topic here. So that's my thoughts on the nuclear.
Well, and the other reason why we can't at all let our nuclear arsenal go is as long as Putin is in charge in Russia and he's going to keep stealing from some of the greatest people in this country.
Okay, name one thing he stole. You have no proof that he stole anything other than the hearts of young women in Russia.
New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft's Super Bowl ring back in 2005 in a meeting. Now, this is why I think we need to actually build up our arsenal, and maybe this might be breathing for a Cold War again. Allegedly, during the meeting, Mr. Kraft took the ring out and showed it to Vladimir. I'm just going to call him Vlad.
Did he say anything when he looked at the ring?
And he put it on, and he said, "I can kill somebody with this ring," according to Mr. Kraft.
That is so Putin.
How can he deny it at this point? That is such a Putin-esque statement. And then Mr. Kraft put his hand out to get the ring back, and he put it in his pocket, and then all of a sudden 3 of his Secret Service-style guys surrounded him, and they walked him out of the room. So first of all, I want those guys charged with conspiracy because they were obviously in on it. Putin needs to be brought to justice.
How? He's a diplomat.
No.
Diplomatic immunity.
Just been revoked.
Great movie.
I love that movie. Where is Murtaugh when you need him? $25,000 ring. He just walked off with it. Of course, he denied doing it, but what doesn't he deny doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
Spokesman went, yeah, he didn't do it. Then where'd the ring go? I don't know.
He's wearing it at the UN.
He's literally doing a press conference denying it while he's wearing it. And he's like, "Hey, Obama, you know how you have to lie to your people? I can lie to it and then show them what I'm lying about, and they don't dare press back."
That's what you need to do, Obama.
So that's Sean's reason for having to up our nuclear arsenal, and for me, that's near and dear, and it really affects.
So did the New England Patriots owner? Did he get?
Never got the ring back.
Never got a copy of a ring back.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
All right.
According to him.
Look, look, you're the owner of the New England Patriots. I would think you would be able to get a copy of the ring or another ring.
I'm sure you could get a duplicate one, but it's not the original.
So look, I have I want Dare Joe Biden.
Yes.
Popular on our website.
Love Dare Joe Biden. BlackheadsRadio.com.
We have another one I want to bring. Right E Coyote. Great name. It says, Dare Joe to go the full Monty at a fundraiser and loudly state, quote, "I did it for the bitches." So add your Dare Joe Biden. BlackheadsRadio.com. Click on Dare Joe Biden.
We'll see you next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
At the exact same time here at the Sackheads Radio Show on the 405 Radio. Check us out. SackheadsRadio.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Sackheads.
New on the 405. Sean, it has been a pleasure, sir.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate the fact that I was here and was able to grace you with my presence.
Absolutely. And, Sacco, fix that crap that we had go wrong.
Sacco, just fix that thing. Do you even know what it is? No, it has electronics.
It's something, and that's your job, because I don't know nothing about that.
And that scares me fire bad. Fix it, Sacco. We'll see you guys next week here on the Sackheads Radio Show.